Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Mormonism with the Murph, where we do a fair and objective analysis of the church, its truth claims, history, doctrine, and policy. So we've been doing a multi-episode series looking at Joseph Smith's polygamy. This is probably one of the most controversial and troubling aspects of church history. In this multi-episode series, in part 3, we had a look at some really important issues, looking at the sealing power. How could Joseph Smith have married Fanny Alger before the sealing power allowed there to be sealings? We had a look at the D&C 101 of the Doctrine and Covenants, its statement on marriage, and how it says that the church's position was one of monogamy, one wife and one husband. How do we reconcile this with Joseph Smith secretly practicing polygamy? And then we had a look at that polygamy was illegal in the United States, and that the church at that point did not obey the 12th article of faith of honoring and sustaining the law. And in that video, there wasn't maybe great apologetic answers, but there were a lot of acknowledgements of some of those issues, which, are just things that are difficult to make sense of or to explain away. In this video, we're going to be focusing on the accounts of the angel and the drawn sword. So I'm just going to jump in. So this comes from the Church's Gospel Topics essay. It says, when God commands a difficult task, he sometimes sends additional messengers to encourage his people to obey. Consistent with his pattern, Joseph told associates that an angel appeared to him 3 times between 1834 and 1842 and commanded him to proceed with plural marriage when he hesitated to move forward. During the third and final appearance, the angel came with the drawn sword, threatening Joseph with destruction unless he went forward and obeyed the commandment fully. Really, and I'll talk about this probably more in my summary of polygamy at the end, but really there's 2 positions when you look at Joseph Smith's polygamy. You either believe that he was a prophet, that he received the revelation in this doctrine, that he was commanded to practice, that he was visited by an angel, and that Joseph marrying other men's wives was ordained and commanded of God. And despite there being a lot of messiness and some troubling aspects about it, you believe that really it was commanded of God and that he restored the principle. Or on the other hand, the critic's perspective is that Joseph claimed he was being visited by an angel. He was claiming it was of God as a way for people to believe and for him to really just take advantage and fulfill his desires to want to, have sex with women and to really manipulate them with his prophetic position. And really, those are the 2 sort of positions or interpretations you can have of the evidence. But there's lots of people that claim that they were told by Joseph Smith about the angel and the drawn sword. Lorenzo Snow, who became one of the prophets of the church, he says, he, Joseph Smith, said that the Lord had revealed the doctrine of the plurality of wives unto him and commanded him to have women sealed to him as wives, that he foresaw the trouble that would follow and sought to turn away from the commandment. But that an angel from heaven appeared before him with the drawn sword, threatening him with the destruction unless he went forward and obeyed the commandment. So according to this account that Joseph Smith had been commanded to have women sealed to him, Joseph Smith did not want to follow this. He foresaw the issues and the consequences, the backlash that would come from it. But that an angel with a drawn sword came and commanded him, and that would be the church's position why in 1842 Joseph Smith was then marrying lots of women in a very short time period. Eliza R Snow says, Joseph told my brother Lorenzo Snow that he had hesitated and deferred from time to time until an angel of God stood by him with a drawn sword and told him that unless he moved forward and established plural marriage, his priesthood would be taken from him and he should be destroyed. So again, Joseph Smith was hesitant with it. It would appear that after 1834, he tried to practice plural marriage with Fanny Alger, but that did not go well. And then after that, there was a time period where he did not practice until 1842. Benjamin F. Johnson says, Hiram said to me, now, brother Benjamin, you know that brother Joseph would not sanction this if it was not from the Lord. The Lord revealed this to brother Joseph long ago, and he put it off until the angel of the Lord came to him with a drawn sword and told him that he would be slain if he did not go forth and fulfill the law. So again, another quote supporting this, that Joseph Smith received the revelation long ago, but he put off acting upon it until an angel with a drawn sword came. Mary Elizabeth Rollins Lightner, an angel came to Joseph Smith, and the last time he came with a drawn sword in his hand and told Joseph if he did not go into the principal, he would slay him. Joseph said he talked to him soberly about it and told him it was an abomination and quoted scripture to him, because in the Book of Mormon, it's in Jacob 2. The Lord talks about how, well, I believe it's Jacob saying that polygamy is abominable before the Lord unless the Lord commands it for the purpose of raising a righteous seed. So he said in the Book of Mormon it was an abomination in the eyes of the Lord, and they were to adhere to these things except the Lord speak, said he. The angel came to me 3 times between the year of 1834 and 1842 and said I was to obey that principle or he would slay me. Now, I suppose a critic would say, well, if he's telling people an angel with a drawn sword is commanding me to do this, then Joseph is making it seem like this isn't me wanting to do it, I'm being forced to do it. And then that also puts a lot of pressure on the women that he was inviting to marry him, because he's pretty much saying that, you know, he'll lose his life if you don't marry me and do not believe that I'm a prophet. But I guess a member would see it as it really comes down to, do you believe Joseph Smith is telling the truth about this visit from an angel or not? Zina Huntington, she says, so she told of Brother Joseph's remark in relation to the revelation on celestial marriage, how an angel came to him with a drawn sword and said if he did not obey this law, he would lose his priesthood. The keeping of Joseph did not know, but it would cost him his life. She also said, this comes from 1894. So her brother said, tell Zina I put it off and put it off till an angel with a drawn sword stood by me and told me if I did not establish that principle upon the earth, I would lose my position and my life. Helmar Kimball says, this angel, he Joseph Smith states, stood over him with a drawn sword, prepared to inflict the penalty of death if he should be disobedient. This fact the Lord revealed to his prophet Joseph Smith as early as the year 1831, and yet, had it not been for the fear of his displeasure, Joseph would have shrunk from the undertaking and would have continued silent, as he did for years, until an angel of the Lord threatened to slay him if he did not reveal and establish this celestial principle. So it seems that Joseph Smith did not want to, practice this principle, that he received the revelation as early as 1831. He's telling people, and he put it off. But then when the angel commanded him that he would lose his life if he did not practice it, then he finally did obey the commandment. Brian Hill says 21 accounts by 9 polygamy insiders left recollections that the prophet told of one specific reason, that an angel with a drawn sword who threatened him if he did not recede. All 9 witnesses could have heard the statement from the prophet himself. However, the narratives themselves suggest that Benjamin F. Johnson and Eliza R Snow may have been repeating information gathered from other people. Joseph Lee Robinson's narrative is difficult to date, and his actual source is not clear. Lorenzo Snow, Erastus Snow, and Mary Elizabeth Rollins Lightner quote the prophet directly, and Mary Elizabeth provides details not available elsewhere. Unfortunately, with the possible exception of the Robinson account, all of the reminiscences date to at least 20 to 30 years after the event. So these are late accounts. However, a lot of them are very consistent, and these are faithful sources. These are members of the church, leaders of the church, close associates. So I think that these quotes are reliable. But then at the same time, it's whether or not you believe that Joseph's account of an angel appearing with a drawn sword commanding him, do you believe he's telling the truth? So this would be a critic's response to this. So I'm going to read it. It says, this also paints Joseph Smith as a reluctant victim, someone who is fighting polygamy so much that God had to send an angel with a drawn sword that would take his life if he did not obey the commandment fully. Remember that the commandment is to raise up seed, which means sexual relations. Joseph Smith certainly engaged in sexual relations with his polygamous wives, but he never raised up seed through any that we have confirmation for. And yeah, I don't think there's any confirmed cases of children to Joseph Smith that have been found or proven. It's also just an outrageous story when you think about it, and I will point it out as we go. But Joseph Smith is telling these young women who revere him as a prophet of God that if they do not marry and have sex with him, that an angel will destroy him. Joseph Smith could find another young girl to marry, but instead he continues to insist to these young women that if they don't do it, he will be destroyed for their refusal to accept the commandment of God that was given to Joseph Smith on their behalf. Yeah, so he's making the point, and this is a fair point. If Joseph Smith really wasn't visited by the angel, as he says, if he's not following the commandment, if this is just him trying to pretty much make them feel bad and manipulate them into marrying him, then this is obviously really terrible and predatory and coercive behavior. And that would be one interpretation by a critic. This story puts a colossal amount of pressure on these young girls, and as we will see below, he uses this story on girls who are vulnerable beyond just believing that Joseph Smith is a prophet of God. We'll look at this more in another video. If this was any other religion, we would all call them out as predators coercing young women into sexual relationships. There's no difference between Joseph Smith and the self-proclaimed prophets highlighted above, with the one exception that we are raised to believe this is the one true church. So this comes from LDS Discussions. I would have a read through their essays. They are very critical. However, I think he raises some valid points that if you saw the same behavior, the same accounts of being threatened with losing their life if you don't marry me, would you accept that person in another church as a prophet of God? Was he using manipulative, predatory tactics to coerce these women into marrying him? So this comes from the prophet Joseph Smith. So he said this to Denison Lott Hare. So this is a nephew of Martin Hare. So again, a second-hand account. But he says, Joseph Smith, the same God that has thus far dictated me and directed me and strengthened me in this work, gave me this revelation and commandment on celestial and plural marriage. And the same God commanded me to obey it. He said it to me that unless I accepted it and introduced it and practiced it, I together with my people would be damned and cut off from this time henceforth. We have got to observe it. It is an eternal principle and was given by way of commandment and not by way of instruction. And I think, you can't just dismiss this quote. It seems to be coming from Joseph Smith, that he's saying that, it's the same God that that called me to this work, the same God that helped him restore the church, bring forth the Book of Mormon, the visions, all the revelations he received. And he's saying it's the same God that has revealed this revelation and this commandment to restore and to practice eternal and plural marriage, and that they have to practice it. It's a commandment, and that they would be damned if they don't. So in summary, many of Joseph Smith's associates claim that he, between 1834 to 1842, was visited by an angel, and that the angel in the third time commanded him and threatened to take his life if he did not practice polygamy. Joseph Smith told many people, including many of his plural wives, that an angel with a drawn sword was threatening his priesthood and his life, and many of these accounts are late sources, many decades after the fact, but they are all consistent. And I suppose you can take two perspectives out of this. You could say it as Joseph Smith was really following the command of the angel, that he didn't want to follow it, that he was deeply troubled by it, but that he knew he had to follow it, and that's why he started marrying other women. A critic would see it as, this is a manipulative, predatory tactic, that he is pretty much trying to think of the right word, like coercing these women into marrying him, claiming that he'll lose his life if they don't, which can be seen as highly manipulative. So in the next video, we're going to look at Joseph Smith's polygamy and polyandry and marrying other men's wives. This is going to be a longer video. There's going to be a lot of things to go through in this, the nature of the relationships to the other wives. We're going to be looking at the critical arguments and some of the faithful responses. But this can be a really important episode because polyandry is probably one of the most weirdest and confusing and hardest things to understand even if you believe that these were just sealings and there was no sexual relations, it's still hard to understand why he would be sealed to other men's wives, because some of these men were members of the church. But we'll find out more about that in the next episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to learn more about this, I really recommend Year Polygamy by Lindsay Hanson Park, or Joseph Smith's Polygamy by Brian and Laura Hales. There's loads of really good videos on YouTube, which I will put also in the description to learn more about this topic. And it's really good to just read through those accounts yourself and come to your own conclusion, interpretation, how you feel about the matter. I don't really want to sway or tell people you need to believe this or believe that. I want to sort of provide the sources. Here's the faithful perspective. Here's the critical perspective. Which one feels right to you? Which one resonates in your heart and in your mind? That's for people to make their own decisions. I just want to be fair and share the information with regards to polygamy, because people should know. So if you have enjoyed this, like, share, and subscribe. You can follow my Facebook page, Mormonism with the Murph. If you want to support me, you can via my PayPal, stephen.murphy1996 at outlook.com. And I will see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.